So I had the pleasure this week of working with a few new singers, and as is often the case with new singers, there was a little bit of a recurring theme going, and that is of a premature focus on the aesthetical components of singing. Now, true, music is a primarily auditory experience, and we do not want to torture our listeners, much less ourselves, with unpleasant tones. However, when we start to focus primarily and prematurely on the aesthetic components of the voice, without first laying a strong technical foundation, we're attempting to work backwards. We're getting the cart ahead of the horse, and that seldom yields desirable results. Sure, there are some singers who sound good despite their technique, not because of it. But oftentimes those are the singers whose careers are cut short. They can't keep singing the same way they used to sing, they lose range, they don't sing like they used to, or they suffer vocal injury. So I have a little expression, a philosophy, that I encourage all of my students and my viewers to embrace, and that is function before fashion. So repeat after me, function before fashion. All right? So I'm going to use a little analogy that hopefully will drive home this point. So let's say you decide that you want to take up quilt making. And so you go to the fabric store and you select for yourself some fabrics that speak to you. I am an avid sewer and knitter, and fabrics do speak. And no, I am not off my psych meds. They speak to me. So you go and you pick these fabrics, and you love the colors and the prints, and you love how they complement each other so well. And then you go over to the pattern section, and you pick a pattern that you absolutely love. And you can just picture in your head all of these colors and prints formed into this pattern and making this beautiful quilt. And you're all excited, and you go home and you sit down at your sewing machine. But you don't know things like sometimes you have to adjust the tension depending on what thread you're using or the material that you're working with. You don't know how to use the little ruler beside the presser foot to help you determine the size of your seam, the size of the seam that will be according to the specifications of the pattern. You don't know, perhaps, that you need to iron flat all of those seams so that they don't bulge. And you don't know how to sew in a straight line. So you finished your quilt, you go over and take it into your bedroom, you spread it on your bed, and you stand there. Dumbfounded. Because you can't figure out why. It looks nothing like what you had envisioned. And the beauty that that pattern promised you, and all of the colors and the prints, and how well they complemented each other. It looked fantastic in your head, how you pictured it. But because you lacked the technique, you weren't able to turn that potential into actuality. And it's the same with singing. When we try to focus on the aesthetical components of singing prematurely or primarily without first laying a technical foundation and focusing on the function and getting the voice coordinating as it should, we are not going to get the sounds that we need to make. There's always going to be some hole, some gap in our technique. And so we need to ensure that we are focusing on developing that solid technical foundation, getting the voice to coordinate as it needs to in order to make the sounds that we desire, and not the other way around. So sometimes when I'm working with new students, or even my regular students, sometimes I'll be working on a certain coordination, and they will sing something, and I'll be like, yes, and I got this big smile on my face, and they're horrified. It sounds terrible to them, right? And they're like, and I said, that's great, you're doing great. Are you kidding me? And in their head, they're probably thinking, well, she needs her ears checked. And I'm like, no, I get my hearing checked every year, and it's perfect. But it's because I am listening differently. I am listening for different things. So when I say to a student, that was great, I loved what I'm hearing in there, even though it doesn't sound performance ready, it doesn't necessarily sound good, it's because I am listening on a functional level. I am hearing an embryonic sound. It's not developed yet. It's still in embryo, but I'm hearing that sound, and I'm hearing its potential, and I'm hearing that that sound is going to grow and develop further, and then ultimately take that student to the point where he or she can be the kind of artist that he or she wants to be. And so what I would encourage you to do today is to turn off your subjective, judgmental, aesthetic listening and turn on your constructive, objective, functional hearing. And when you do that, you're going to find that your technique becomes a lot more solidified, a lot more reliable, and that is in turn going to open up the door for you to be able to create the kinds of sounds that you want. There is a time when you get to that place where your technique is solidified, it's reliable, then you can work on fine-tuning and tweaking your sound and finding the sound that you want. You can add the colors and the textures that you desire, but not before you've laid that foundation. So I really hope this video was helpful to you. I have neighbors who are riding around on snowmobiles or something. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Please click the thumbs up button, subscribe to this channel. That really is the best way for you to tell me that you find value in what I'm putting out here on YouTube. And please, if you find value in it and you think that maybe your singing friends will, or your singing teacher, please share this video. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.